the woke will cast us as some sort of too conservative. No, we're not conservatives.
No.
We're not conservatives.
I'm certainly...
It's just like, you guys don't get it. Woke and liberal are two different things. They're very often the fucking opposite of each other.
Yeah.
Well, hello everybody. We're back with Bill Maher today on the Club Random podcast, and his guest, as you can see, is Mark Cuban, billionaire, entrepreneur, former sports team owner, I think, and I think he's known also for being pretty liberal, pretty woke even. He's made quite a few statements about how DEI is good, good for business and all that sort of thing. Well, if it was actually good for business, you wouldn't have to have campaigns trying to force DEI down everybody's throat. Businesses would just do it anyway. And Bill Maher, I kind of like him, kind of hate him. I'm sort of hot and cold on Bill Maher. He claims he's sort of a conventional liberal, which I can see. Many people in my family are like that, sort of old school liberal. He rails against the woke all the time. I can understand that, of course. I rail against them too. But yeah, as he was just saying, he's no conservative. But the woke types accuse people like him and Mark Cuban of being conservative just because they have some halfway realistic takes on things like, turning your kids into trans, making your kids go trans, giving your kids surgeries to supposedly turn them into the opposite sex, all that sort of thing. And just promoting degeneracy and evil in the world, and which is basically what the woke do. Those who hate God and hate creation, they want to invert everything. Instead of aspiring for the good, the beautiful, and the true, they aspire for the inversion of all that. And they say the evil is good, ugly is beautiful, and falsehood is true. So anyway, let's see what these two woke, I will call them woke idiots. They're not really woke, but they're just too far left for me. Let's see what they have to say, what they're talking about.
Football. There's only like 12 minutes of real football in a football game.
But I feel like there is a parallel with that and the feeling of being overregulated as a citizen, which we know in California. I'm all for, intelligent liberal moves, but like this state is nuts.
Yeah, they do go a little bit overboard. I could not live here as a permanent resident just because the taxes and the regulation. Yeah, I love coming out here, but I'm a visitor.
And those are the reasons, taxes and regulation.
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Right.
Just because, look what's happened in San Francisco. An entire industry is getting pushed out. The whole technology industry went from, okay, this is growth, this is, the new thing, and now, it's just about people shitting on the street.
I was going to say, the cleaning up the shit off the street industry is doing very
really well.
Isn't it amazing how all these liberal-run cities are just, literal shitholes, like San Francisco, like the city where I was born and raised, Portland, Oregon, like what else? Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, etc., etc. Isn't it amazing how if you just let people do their thing, man, everything just goes to hell? But it's just we had such good intentions. Yeah, well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
The apps that say where you can go take a shit.
Cleaning broken glass industry.
Just smashing grabs.
I don't want to add to the shit on the street and take a dump on San Francisco. I love San Francisco. I think we all love San Francisco. No, you never did?
I've never been a big San Francisco fan at all.
I know what you mean. It's a little cliquey.
Pretentious as fuck, right? Being in the tech industry, everybody is the smartest motherfucker in the world if you live in Silicon Valley.
Well, and also too politically correct.
Not so much anymore.
As for a comedian.
But maybe, yeah, maybe.
It's the kind of place that's like, oh, I know you think you're smarter, but you're not. First of all, you're not smarter than the people in Tulsa, who come to my show anyway.
Right.
And they're a whole lot more fun.
The attitudes, it's just like, we're tech bros. We're tech bros. Of course we're smarter. We went to Harvard. We went to MIT. We're in tech. You just can't hang, right? You don't know what the fuck is going on. I do all I can not to let any of my investments work out of Silicon Valley.
Well, tech is, just because you're good at tech doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the world.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. You're good at that one thing, which is very important. It's a vital,
But they're
huge...
not even that good at it. They're just there to pretend that they're good
Right.
at it, right? You know, because if it was, look, there's a lot of capital there, so that people follow the money. I get that, right? But the pretentiousness and the attitude and the expectations and the arrogance, like it's just a business. And you can be good anywhere in the world. Hopefully you'll come here to this country and, you know, make the choice like immigrants used to and come here and
Right.
start companies.
Right.
But I'd rather start a business in Dallas all day, every day. I will not
Oh,
do it in San
I
Francisco.
know, of course. Or Florida, you know, I mean, no, look, I hear this from so many people I know who, you know, again, the woke will cast this as some sort of too conservative. No, we're not conservatives.
No.
We're not conservatives.
I'm certainly...
It's just like, you guys don't get it. Woke and liberal are two different things. They're very often the fucking opposite of each other.
Yeah.
So don't lump and then be like, anybody to the right of woke is a conservative. No.
It drives me
People
nuts.
just want to live. Freedom should be a liberal thing. The word is, that's what liber means, free.
Free, right. And look, we can have different attitudes, but just the idea of people getting classified as woke or non-woke or conservative. We don't talk about ideas anymore. We don't talk about solutions anymore.
I do.
We talk about categories,
You
right?
do. You
yeah,
do
I
and
do
I
all
do.
the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, but generally, people just want to classify you.
Well, what they want to do is just hear what they already think they know.
Yes.
And root for the team. And I always say people need deprogramming. And then it struck me, no, idiot. They like programming. They like being programmed. They don't, of course they don't want to be deprogrammed.
Here's what I think. So my generation, I'm 64 years old, I'm a boomer, right? And we grew up sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So it's so disappointing that we evolved to be the Fox News generation, the News Nation generation, all these TV stations that dictate to my peers what to think. And thinking about it, it was like, how did this happen? Well, we grew up thinking TV was authoritative. TV was the authority in any subject.
Right.
You know, Walter Cronkite says it.
Yeah.
Rather says it.
Yeah.
It's gospel.
Right.
Right. I heard it on the news. How many times did parents say to us,
You're right.
I heard it on the news. Now, that doesn't just leave you. You know, it's not like all of a sudden you get to be 65 years old and you stop thinking everything you learned for the first 30, 40 years of your life. Mm-hmm. So when you turn on Fox News or whatever, Newsmax, if it's on the news, it's right.
Well, Mark Cuban does make a good point there, despite the fact that I don't really like him. Yes. And Bill Maher earlier, he said, you know, well, Bill Maher said that people don't want to be programmed. Actually, I think Mark Cuban is right. I think people do want to be programmed, actually. Or a lot of people do. A significant, probably more than 50% of the people just want to be programmed. The news is like some sort of entertainment. And the fact that Mark Cuban mentioned that, so he's a boomer, relatively young boomer. He said he's 64, about 5 years older than me. So I'm a very old Gen Xer. But yeah, I mean, I was brought up that way too. Of course, the TV was on. My parents would watch Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather. And it was just assumed that what they were saying was the truth. But this programming has been going on for decades. Who chooses what stories are covered on the news? Who chooses the slant they give in each story? Who chooses what they cover in that story and what they don't say? Now, I'm not claiming the news always lied or anything like that, or the TV always lied per se, but they more lied by omission than commission. So, you know, you design the narrative, as we call it these days. You know, you sort of create a reality for all the people who watch. And the thing is, that is a boomer thing, you know, like what happens these days, I don't watch the news. I don't even watch TV. You know, if I want to watch something, I go on YouTube, or, you know, maybe I'll watch a movie on some streaming service. But certainly the news, I do not get it from conventional sites, or I watch clips from, CNN and MSNBC and Fox to see what the boomers and the NPCs are watching, because I want to see what they're saying. I find it very interesting to see how they spin things and cover things and lie about things. But there's many more sources of news out there. And people now, younger people who didn't grow up in this era where there was just three stations on your TV and you chose which one you watched for the news. They don't have that reflex to turn on the news to see what's going on.
And so they just believe it. Nobody questions it.
But that's also true of MSNBC.
Well, yes, but they don't have the size of audience, and I don't.
Well, but they have a very influential audience because their audience is the media and the people who.
Well, that's the difference. See, the difference there is in terms of influence is one thing, right? But you would hope that media and somebody else is not taking it as gospel. Like they're questioning it, they may watch it, but there are people who are saying, this is right. What Bill Hemming or whoever on Fox says, it's accurate.
I mean, I hadn't done MSNBC in a while, but I did Ari Melber's show a couple weeks ago, and I like him a lot. I think he's a big talent who actually could do a different kind of show.
Especially with all the hip-hop references.
Well, not that kind of show, but I realized when I was on there for a long time, the things that they cover, certainly not what I would have considered the most important stories of the day, just the stories that most make their audience go, yes, exactly. He's terrible. Oh, yes, good. Something bad happened to him. Great.
Yes.
Oh, she's great. I love her. And yes, something good about her. And it's like, okay, I mean, none of these things, it's not about like, it's sort of like when a cop pulls you over for a taillight. Like, can a cop pull you over all the time for anything and find something? Yeah, they could. It's what you choose to cover. It's not like these things didn't happen. It's it's your perspective.
And what you're trying to accomplish.
And are you really trying to find the truth? A lot of people send me things, and, a lot of times if I said something to them, it would just be like, I get it, you want me to see this, but when I check it out, it doesn't look like it was sent by someone who really wants the truth. It's just like your side. You want your side verified. And then when I check it out, it's like, okay, this thing wasn't wrong. There was one study that said that. You just didn't tell me about the 8 studies that said
something different, right?
So
there's one study in Israel,
So you're not interested in the truth. You're interested in confirming what you already believe, and I'm not interested in that.
No, without question, right? On social media, you go on Twitter, which is another question for it, but you want to engage with somebody who's going to challenge you intellectually, right? You want someone. I always call it.
Do.
Yeah, I call it.
Lots of people. That's the exact opposite of what they want.
No, I call it checking my whole card, right? And it's just like I want to know if I'm right, and so I'll push it out on Twitter just for the whole point of someone saying no, you're fucked up and you're wrong, right?
Wow.
But you can't have, especially now, you can't do that anymore. And with television, to your point, it's just about getting people fired up on their side. And, how do you fix it? What comes next?
I don't know. You're the fix guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You got enough on your plate with this drug thing. By the way, I do think it's awesome that you're doing that.
Appreciate that.
I mean, it's the Republicans used to say about rich people, like we shouldn't be punishing success. And I agree with that. I also agree that we need to, tax, intelligently and.
Yeah, I don't mind paying more taxes.
I don't either.
I've said it's the most patriotic thing. Well, I mean,
but I'm paying,
there's a limit, right? Yeah. But,
I pay more than half.
Yeah, so do I. No,
okay. So I feel like half is already a lot.
It's a lot.
And I don't mind doing it because I do think. I look at it philosophically. I think being rich, no offense, because you're very rich, is like a little bit of a fluke because you could have been born at another time in history.
Yes.
Right.
I'm the luckiest motherfucker in the world.
I know. Tell jokes, figure out code, whatever it is.
We get to sit here and get fucked up, whatever works, right?
But so looking at it philosophically, I don't feel like, oh, I'm owed this because it's a lucky thing. So, okay, so I don't mind paying. But just don't give me the line, the Bernie Sanders, the rich don't pay anything.
Yeah, Bill makes a good point there. We are all lucky. I am, all of you are, to have been born in this time, especially if you're born in the first world. It is lucky, even if you're not that well off or anything. You're infinitely better off than the vast majority of people have ever been in the history of the world. So there's that. We should be grateful for that, all of us, every day. And, talking about paying your fair taxes, that's a typical liberal thing, obviously. you know, these rich billionaires, rich people should pay their fair share, but nobody actually defines what the fair share is. Frankly, I would be all in just for a flat rate tax, like super simple. Say 10%. Everybody, 10%. That's it. And while at the same time slashing the bloated bureaucracy, especially in the federal government in the United States, but also in European countries, they're bloated too. Not as bad as the US, which is not just bureaucracy, but also the defense sector, not just, the military itself, plus the entire economy of defense industries that have built up around it. There's a lot of fat that can be slashed, but will that happen? We'll see. In the meantime, let me know what you think about Mark Cuban and Bill Maher. And feel free to let me write a comment. I've been reading all the comments. I replied to quite a few even. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. We're nearing 6,000. Really appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed. Really helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.